These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on technically Wednesday, December 20th, because it's 12:40 a.m. Celtics just lost to the Warriors in overtime in their first game of their 4-game road trip. This was a tough one. They were up by as many as 17 points. They let the lead go a little bit, then they fought back, then they let the lead go a little bit, and then a little more. And then by the time the game ended, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson decided, you know what? You gave us a little too much leeway. We're going to make everything, while the Celtics decided, you know what? You're right. We'll miss some layups. Don't you worry about it. And that resulted in a 132-126 loss for the Celtics. Warriors take the first game of the road trip. Sam, I can imagine you're none too pleased. I cannot lie to you. I was not looking forward to jumping on the recording because I figured you'd be none too pleased. So I'll let you rock here.
I mean, if you went down the list of everything I didn't want to see, blown lead,
you jinxed it.
blown lead, Tatum nonsense 3-point shot game, offensive rebounds, overtime, and no stops in the fourth quarter. You had the fucking infinity gauntlet of fucking Celtics shithousery nonsense to lose this game. And you're going to have some people blaming Missoula for not calling a timeout in regulation. If you want to blame Missoula, you should blame him for having too much faith in Tatum to make a competent decision with the game on the line. I don't know how many times you need to see the ball slam off the rim after firing up a three in order to not elect to shoot an isolation between the legs, failed pump fake. Oh boy, I just have to get it up there now. 3-point attempt to try and win the game. I mean, come on. The Celtics offense went numb towards the end of this and then into overtime. The defense couldn't buy a stop for the entire fourth quarter. You couldn't have got a better look than that at the end of regulation to try and just steal a win. The game was tied. You didn't need 3. There's a zillion things you could have went to. All we've done this year is talk about how great they've been out of the post. And there were times tonight that they did a great job out of playing out of the post. Tatum did a great job. He drew double teams. He hit the open man. Why not try for it there? And if you want to say Missoula should have called a timeout to set it up, fair. But you should be able to trust Tatum more than for that to be the shot you get. On a day like today, it's not like he was in the last game against Orlando when he was 4 of 6 from 3. I just don't know how many more 2 of 10 3-point games I can see from Tatum. Isn't it funny that when he actually shoots a respectable percentage, it's only when he takes 6 threes? Any other time, he's just firing them up. Well, they have to fall eventually. All right, go ahead.
I tweeted this out at you. I'm largely okay with Tatum's 3-point shots throughout the flow of the game. You can't do that at the end of the game. That was so bad, especially because he could have gotten to the edge there on Kuminga. I think he could have had a lane. I think he could have made a play. Even more. I know this is like a talking point a lot of last year, a lot of in general when Tatum struggles. I hate how Jaylen Brown just never even gets the chance to shoot those shots. And in reality, he does. Like, we've seen him make some big shots at the end of games.
He had the game winning.
But it just seems like they pick the weirdest spots to go to them each of them. It sucked. It's frustrating to see him shoot like that. It's frustrating to see the Celtics melt like that. It's almost like the right thing worked against them because they did a really good job of attacking Steph Curry. And then it almost felt like took that to too much of an extreme to the point where their offense was just all about attacking matchups they liked rather than just playing fast. That was work. You know what I'm saying? So like they went to it too often and then it got stale and then nothing went in and they got bad shots. And then, I mean, to cap it all off, at the end of the game, a lot of those possessions were good offensive possessions. Al Horford missed a million corner threes. Jayson Tatum missed some layups. Al Horford missed a tip, and Jaylen Brown missed some. Like they were just missing great looks. Like the offense was finally working. They just couldn't make anything at that point. And then defensively, like Yes, there were some bad possessions. Obviously, you can't leave Curry at the 3-point line. You can't leave Chris Paul on the driver. You can't leave the corner to cover Chris Paul. Like they made some defensive slip ups, but then you just let Curry and Clay get too comfortable and they murdered you, right? And I mean, I know it's not what you want to hear. I know it's not what the people want to hear. That Curry shot was fucking crazy. That was vintage. You knew it was going in as soon as you let the ball. You're like, yeah, see ya, cooked, whatever.
Well, I mean, get a fucking rebound. That's another thing. How many second chance points can you give two of the greatest shooters ever who are both scorched earth down the stretch?
What's
Oh,
frustrating?
you want another try at this? You did miss this one.
They did such a good job on the offensive glass, I felt, in the first half, and then it all flipped in the second half. Because in the box score, they tied. Both teams got 38 offensive rebounds, or 18 offensive rebounds. It's just it didn't happen. It didn't translate into the second half. Derrick White took 18 threes.
Fine.
Sorry, that's completely irrelevant.
A couple of them came forced up at the end, kind of they had to take them.
Yeah, I don't think many
good looks, flow of the offense.
I agree.
That's when double-digit threes are fine.
I just didn't realize.
White's not ISO. All right, everyone clear out, sidestep, fire, slaps off the rim.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's catch and shoot. Great rotational ball movement. The Celtics drew doubles out of the post, and then they swung the ball to the opposite corner, and they got great looks from three. Derrick White benefited from it quite a bit. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Al Horford had a rough shooting game. Fine.
I wanted to ask you this.
I hated that he had a rough game, but to be honest, those looks are looks that he makes.
That's what I'm saying. So I was going back and forth with John Smyers, who listened to the show. Yes, he had some rough moments at the end. Yes, I think the offensive rebound at the end was partially his fault. Yes, he missed some open looks. I didn't look at that as, wow, Al Horford was shit tonight. Because he took the right shots. He just wasn't making them. He was getting, good on the offensive glass in the first half. He had 6 assists in this game. He had that big block. I didn't think this was, obviously wasn't a great Al Horford game because he shot 3 for 10 from 3. That's not a good night. But I don't think this was a terrible Al Horford game. Sam Hauser, rough night, couldn't make anything. But again, I don't think he took any bad shots. It's just those two just had an off night, which sucks. And it was a bad timing for it, considering Jayson Tatum also decided to force himself into an off night. And we'll phrase it like that. So I don't think it's fair to blame Horford and Hauser. Yes, they had rough shooting nights, and yes, they should get share of the blame. But I really think it is big part Tatum forcing those shots, big part of him, taking those looks, but also just the Celtics as a team failing to step up and falling asleep in the wrong moments. That's not an excuse for the players, but I truly think that's just, they fell asleep at the wrong times, which is inexcusable. And you can't be doing that against a team like the Warriors, who, for all their struggles this year, that's still Steph Curry. And that's still, apparently a version of Klay Thompson who is coming into his own, who has been playing better lately. And Chris Paul finally figured, they still have players who can make big plays, and the Celtics allowed them to make those plays. And that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right here. Hold on.
What are you trying to look up?
I want to see how many straight possessions in the fourth quarter the Celtics allowed them to score.
Oh, I can find that. You want me to look?
I got the play-by-play up here. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Celtics went up 9 points with just under 7 to go. Moses Moody makes 2 free throws. Curry makes a layup. Then he gets another layup. Then Moody gets a layup. Curry finally misses. That's the Horford block.
Mm-hmm.
Then Thompson makes a 3. Chris Paul makes a layup. Steph Curry makes a 3. Clay makes a 3. Curry makes a 3. Curry missed the open 3 to go ahead. So in the final 7 minutes of regulation,
5 straight possessions,
the Celtics got 2 stops.
Yeah.
2 stops. Unacceptable. And this is after a great homestand where I was convinced that they had kind of figured out stepping on the throat of teams. The Celtics were up 17 points in the second half here, and yet they managed to allow a similar meltdown to what we saw against the Pacers, where the Celtics were fine offensively for the most part. They matched and they threw punches right back at the Warriors with threes. But when you just can't buy a stop, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how you expect to win a close game when you can't get a stop. If you want to do like a power rankings of why they lost this game, it's the inability to get stops in Tatum's clutch shot CTE. Everything else is subjective. You want to pick on Horford and Hauser for missing threes, fine. But off nights are far less to blame than things that could have been fixed without just needing to make shots. Shot selection is key. Defense is key. And 2 stops in 7 minutes is just flat out unacceptable. This is a team that was what? 3rd ranked in defense or 6th ranked in defense. They were top 6 in it, no matter what. I'm getting
good
them
defensive
confused.
team.
Good defensive team. And you're telling me you can't get a stop for 7 minutes with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, albeit scorched earth, and then pretty much the fellas out there.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you got your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Come on.
It was bad. I mean, you credit Trace Jackson Davis and those guys down there for making the plays, but like, what frustrates me most, because it won't get talked about, Derrick White and Jaylen Brown were fucking awesome in this game. Like, they played so well, and it just doesn't matter because the Celtics failed to come up in the moments where they needed them to, right? Like, Jaylen Brown, what did he finish with? Jaylen Brown had 28, 8, and 7 assists again. 4 turnovers, albeit with some tough moments, but 10 of 22, 1 of 4. Derrick White, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 11 of 24, 7 of 18. Took the shots in the flow of the offense, did what he needed to do. Everyone else was just like, meh, like just not there. All the other starters, like Drew Holiday, I thought was like okay, but he was a team worst -14. Like, he just seemed like not relevant in most spots. Jayson Tatum, obviously, we've talked about. Al Horford couldn't hit his threes. Missed that big tip in. Sam Hauser was 0 of 6, couldn't make anything. The bench guys are okay. Like, Kata had a really good game. He had 10 and 10, 6 offensive rebounds, albeit stat padded because he missed 7 of his own shots. Pritchard was good in his minutes. I thought he was solid. He made his shots. O'Shea Brissett was good in the brief minutes he got. It's just like the stars didn't come up when it mattered. And Steph Curry and Klay Thompson shot a combined 12 of 26 from 3. Like, if you can't stop and the frustrating part is they did it well at times in terms of defending Steph and Klay. Like, Peyton Pritchard had that, big possession where he defended Klay and Steph and denied the ball. They had other possessions where early in the game where Derrick White was blocking shots. And then it felt like, I don't know whether it was miscommunication. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch if Steve Kerr ran different sets that the Celtics weren't ready for, but like, they just stopped getting out to the shooters in time and gave them just like, it wasn't even like they had like wide open shots, but just like 2 feet or 1 foot too much space to where they were a second late, like a half a beat late. And that's what matters when you're facing the 2 best shooters of all time. And you can't do that in a close game like this. And the worst part to me was I truly thought during the game, and from what I was watching, like, they had the chances to step on their throat and come back. And I thought they did for brief moments. Like, after they gave up the first initial double-digit lead, they battled all the way back, right? The huge third quarter for the Celtics. Like, they filled the third quarter, right? And I was like, wow, look at them turning the corner. This is great. Jaylen Brown's taking a step up. Jayson Tatum's not having a good night, but at least it's not affecting the Celtics. Stupid Jack. Fourth quarter comes around, and even when the Warriors go on that run, I saw the Celtics making these little plays to keep themselves ahead. The Al Horford block, the Peyton Pritchard, possession, the big Derrick White 3. I was like, okay, they're battling. The Warriors are going to warrior. They're a good team. This is what happens. I truly believe it, that good players make good plays, and sometimes you can't, like, the runs are going to happen. It's the way you respond. And I thought they responded well, and then they didn't. It was they responded well until they didn't, and once they didn't, it was a complete and utter collapse. And that's where the problem is, obviously, because you can't have that happen. So that was the most frustrating to me, because I at least in my opinion, you could see the moments and the signs of them like overcoming what their biggest problem is, and then it just all fell apart.
We didn't even mention the possession where they missed 5 shots.
Oh yeah, I was hyped because I was like, you know what, this is actually kind of a good thing, right? Because they got the ball back every
They're
time.
killing time.
The offensive rebound was great, and then they missed another fucking layup at the
If you must know, that whole possession only lasted 28 seconds, so it's really only like they got like two attempts
I mean,
at it.
every single shot they took was open.
Actually, I'm sorry. They had possession from 136 all the way till 53. So you can be like they did kill some clock. But
I mean, every shot was open. Every shot was open. It just nothing could fall. It was horrendous.
The threes or whatever, man. Like all the threes they took on that possession were good shots. Like I'm not gonna be like, don't take the threes because they were all there, and Golden State was shuffling around on defense trying to recover after giving up the second chance and third chance and so on. But the Jaylen miss on the drive was pretty bad. Like that was pretty bad. It's just one of those things, like it happens, and believe me, I'm annoyed, but ugh.
It was the worst possible time he could miss the layup. And it was the worst possible time for everybody on the Celtics to miss their layups because Jaylen wasn't the only one. Jayson Tatum had a missed layup. I think it was in overtime. Al Horford had that missed tip in. Sam Hauser missed a layup early in the game. Like, everyone was missing the layups. So when I asked Joe about the threes a couple weeks ago, he was like, what about the layups? Somebody better ask him about the fucking layups tonight because they weren't going in. And again, it was frustrating because it felt like this was another great Jaylen game. It was a great Derrick White game, and they crumbled when it mattered most because it felt like they tried to force a different play style than what they should be playing. Keith Smith tweeted about it. And so I'll give him the credit, but it's like the Celtics played so well playing fast for the whole game, and then they slowed it down. And that is what you're like theoretically supposed to do in the fourth quarter, right? You slow it down, you search for your good shots, but the Celtics aren't good at that. So like, don't do it. If it's not what you're good at, don't like succumb to what you should be doing. Just do what you're good at and keep doing it. Because when the Celtics were running, the Warriors had no fucking chance. Like, they were very clearly the better team when they were playing that style of basketball, and then they stopped playing that style of basketball. And this isn't a new thing. This is something they've done for the past 3 years. I mean, Sam and I started talking about the show when Brad Wanamaker was on the fucking team, and they've done the same thing ever since. It's just, it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating watching the same thing over and over again. They have a doubleheader back-to-back against the Kings now tomorrow night, and the Kings are a good basketball team and another team where you
better
can't
team than the Warriors now.
And another team where you can't mess around because they're fucking good on offense. And I don't know. This was not a good start to the road trip. This was perhaps the worst possible start to the road trip, especially for Sam's sleep schedule, especially.
Well, I mean, I don't really have to be up tomorrow, so it's whatever.
Well,
but I'll say this. It could have been worse if Tatum actually was hurt. Good that he's not out. It's good that Derrick White is not out. I don't think Tatum's going to play tomorrow for what it's worth.
Good they're not out. But, Sam, would they have won if Tatum was out?
Maybe. They might have. I mean, he went down in the first quarter and Jaylen started to cook. And then all of a sudden we didn't hear from Jaylen. So who knows? I did think Tatum was laboring a bit out there towards the end of the game. I thought I noticed a limp. Whatever it's worth. I mean, a limp doesn't affect your brain. So, and if you're limping, maybe pass the ball with the clock ticking down. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to play against the Kings. I think you'll see Porzingis again. I also think Porzingis does help their late game execution just because he's another offensive option that isn't necessarily a three. That's not an excuse. You're up 17, win the game. It's simple as that. You got yourself there. Pajamas there. Pod. He went down at halftime, didn't come back in, and he's a big impact player for them. So that makes it even worse. I mean, that's one of the guys they really like. He's given them a spark in recent games, and you couldn't hold off the Warriors, man. I know Steph and Clay played for real. They had a great close, but just the same stuff. Just not getting stops, and I can't even really be mad at the late game offense aside from the Tatum miss. You can't. I mean, they answered every blow the Warriors had. They just didn't do anything to make those shots matter because they just said, okay, Derrick White made a corner three. All right, Curry, we're going to continue to give you the same looks over and over again. And I know Curry is for sure a special player. He's one of the best ever. He's going to get his shots off. And credit to Al Horford, he did fight his ass off to try and contest these shots. But at the same time, when it's happening every single time and Golden State is running offense to target him every single time, maybe take him out. Because it's not like he's helping you on the glass. Because, for one, Golden State's getting a zillion offensive rebounds. And on the other hand, he's not on the glass because he's on the perimeter getting targeted. So you're left with mismatches down low, and Curry's getting good looks from three. You just can't win. You saw the offensive rebounds catch up to him. If you want to blame Joe, I would say that's where your attack angle should be, is why did Horford stay in this game so long when he wasn't giving them anything? I guess you could be like, Hauser wasn't giving them anything. He's the other guy they might go to. Porzingis isn't there. You're not going to put Kata in. Who's it going to be? One question I would have is, what happened to Brissett? He was good in his first stretch, and he just never went back in.
Yeah. I don't know. This is just a frustrating one. Even more frustrating. So, Sam, when I write the descriptions for the pod, I was doing it now, so I wouldn't have to do it afterwards. I type it into like Google, like the search bar, so it like autofills with some of the stuff that, like, especially for the tags. And I typed in the description for this game, and what popped up was our past podcasts from the finals, in case you wanted some PTSD.
I mean,
so
see, this is different though. This was like they lost because they couldn't get a stop. In the finals, it was they lost because they shot a zillion threes that weren't necessarily good threes.
Yeah. Well, Tatum did some of that tonight.
I want people to kill Tatum like they killed Smart. They're not the same player. They're not the same quality of player by any means. But the people that didn't like Smart didn't like him because he fired up threes that they didn't like. Those people got to hold Tatum accountable. 10 threes from a guy that's shooting 34, 33% is just about the same as Marcus doing it. It's about the same percentage.
Joe Mazzulla mentioned, sorry, I just saw this on my timeline, and then we can wrap. Joe Mazzulla has mentioned multiple times that there were 15 possessions he wishes they could have changed, but they missed 20 paint shots and 41 threes, a franchise record. So he was satisfied with their overall process tonight. Like you said, the overall offensive process was fine outside of the Tatum chucking. Like, I truly think the offensive process was good in this game. Again, outside of the Tatum chucking. They just couldn't get stops at the right time, and they missed a million fucking open shots at the end of the game. It's bad. It's just really bad. So
yeah, I mean, listen, the missed layups are bad. Like, that's inexcusable.
Yes, objectively.
You are right at the rim. The Tatum one that rolled out in overtime was bad. That was a chance to tie the game. The Brown one in regulation was worse. And there were plenty along the way that you could point at and be like, that one too. But if you really want to point at the threes, I don't really think you can today, other than like the ones that are. I don't want to see shot creation threes anymore. I just don't.
Do you know how many they took?
How many?
Just guess.
69. They took 69 threes.
Close, 58.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way.
But they played overtime, and that's Golden State made them take threes.
No, I agree. What I was going to say, if they took 58 threes and Sam's not complaining too much about the threes, most of them were good threes. I'll put it that way. That's the way I'll phrase it.
I think they made smart decisions a lot of the night. Like, it's when Hauser's not making shots, it's tough. When Horford's not making them, it's tough.
They only had 8 turnovers.
2 key guys.
It's tough, man. Anyways, we can wrap there. I got editing and writing to do and stuff, and I know it's 1 a.m. and Sam's probably been up far longer than I am, so he's probably.
I've been up since 6.
Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts on the game. I already saw we have a couple emails rolling in, so we'll get to those in tomorrow's pod. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you very much. I'll let Sam take it out.
Hey, thank you very much for watching or listening, I guess, because these game recaps are on the audio platforms. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are inching towards 2K subscribers, and we do appreciate that very much. You guys have been awesome lately. I'm sure no one watched this because they lost. That's kind of how it goes. But if you're here, thank you. You can leave a comment, complain with us, commiserate with us, but also leave a like because we would appreciate that. Like I mentioned, game recaps as well as the full-length pods are on the audio platforms. It's late. It's late. Apple and Spotify, you can follow us there. Those episodes will go right to your feed. Leave us a 5-star review on both. You can also find us via email, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Like Jack said, we already got a couple emails about this game. I'm sure people have stuff they'd like to say, so you can reach out there. Jack doesn't look like he likes the sound of that. And that's fair. You can also find us on socials at hbtcpod@gmail.com. How about them C's is the social handle. I was looking at the wrong side. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is just the name of the pod. You can find our pregame streams there as well as YouTube. Good turnout in tonight's stream. Hopefully everyone's back tomorrow. Seems like the late start streams do very well just because people happen to be hanging out. So hope to see you guys there. You can follow Jack on Twitter at JackSimoneNBA. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.